Welcome.
We found this case in connection with a single woman of our family and no taste that shows something.
This is the year of the big
Her
race.
grandmother disapproved, but that didn't stop her. It all comes to no good.
By big, I mean big. By race, I
By big, he
mean
means
race.
big. By race, he means race.
Now, let's look at our first
Your
contestant.
reputation had to come from the father's side of the family. They were in architecture, which is evidently respectable, but artistic nevertheless.
This extraordinary work for television, dating to the late 1940s, has been brought to the medium finally by the composer, Robert Ashley.
Actually, it's far from finished.
Are you sure that the author intended the work for television as opposed to, say, something intended for the stage of the future?
All of the instructions refer to
And
time.
the author calls it an opera?
Atalanta Acts of God is the title of the work. I call it an opera.
In this episode, Atalanta Strategy, you're presenting just an excerpt. Is that true?
Atalanta Strategy is more than an excerpt. It's a kind of model or template for the larger work.
Why was the opera not produced in the
It would have
19th?
been impossible.
Atalanta Acts of God is very much ahead of its time.
Atalanta is a visionary work, and its characteristic that time was a time of visionaries in America.
Atalanta is a Greek myth, isn't it? A woman who could run faster than any man.
Opera is about achievement, I think. A myth is just a way of telling about how things were.
What happens in this myth?
Three different men who don't know each other but have something in common are picked up by a flying saucer to be used on some strange mission. That idea of UFOs doing research on us.
The personnel are discouraged,
The personnel on the mission, impossible.
Demoralized, sir.
The moral is, Lieutenant.
Eyes, sir. Yesterday,
It
one
still
of them
is in
said,
my book, Lieutenant.
it's hard being sad in
Said
the morning.
The morning,
It
Lieutenant.
lays on the joy of recovery like a
Do
wet
you mean
blanket.
one of the personnel?
One of the transports, Captain.
Didn't sound like something personnel could have
They
said.
gather like flies around
Total
honey.
length of duty.
Worse even,
And under
total
question.
disattachment. That it
Protect
gets
the
harder.
personnel from that change.
You have to
idea.
rebuild from scratch.
That's
Even the
dangerous.
mirrors are no help.
You
It's
forget
too
about
slow.
them.
You wake up thinking, I'm nothing, but not nothing
You have
enough
to
not to
rebuild
care.
from scratch.
One answered, what was
Personnel,
that?
that's a symptom.
Right, Captain? That's a
That's
symptom?
what I said. Dream.
That's what you said. Dreaming.
What's that?
Yes, what was that?
Silent disattention.
That's what I said.
I know that's what you said.
He answered, you wake up
I
thinking,
nothing. What happened
almost.
then?
The one we call the wise
One of
one.
the personnel.
Yes, said, too bad you can't hang on to that.
And he said, I don't suppose.
Yes, you're not kidding.
No, I suppose they laughed at that.
You're not kidding.
He said, I
Yes,
hardly blame them one of my feet.
they keep saying,
For getting up,
yes, the big A, then they
telling
laugh.
lies like that.
Yes.
Meaning,
Who knows?
personnel is affected, I
Good
suppose.
supposing.
Next thing you know, they'll be right in the toilet.
Unfortunately,
Big A.
they've learned to
spells
laugh.
trouble.
On cue.
Joke then?
Well,
What's the
they're
joke?
taught. He says in a high voice, Willard, if you don't turn that TV on when you watch it, I'm gonna throw it out.
Oh, no.
It is important that Miss Atalanta and the Tennessean have different points of view. He speaks from the great past of the feeling of the difficulties of the service. The slowly speaking nature of his presence has in it looking as if the past of trust and hearing to guide him as that past came into the moment to moment-like meshing with the present had lost its totalness through a slowly wearing away process and through another kind of attrition, in this case numerical or statistical, which is the attrition not of the past itself specifically, that is not to our knowledge lost as an attrition, of the gift or propensity, something in him, in his essence, but an attrition of the specifically required quantity of instances of experience. Long since, because facts of hearing had become, one supposes, external facts more than internal facts, as if previously, throughout the progress through what is called the past, because of its moment-to-moment likeness with the present, the world had changed. And there became more facts of hearing outside than inside. There were more external facts.
Looking in the mirror now, yeah, trying to get up my nerve, yeah, to figure out what I'm going to say when I get close to her, yeah.
Our various ideas about work, our politics, are just ideas about how to get men to work. Women have to work anyway. Willard took to the one we use like a cat takes to water. When it occurred to him that there had been some mistake in judgment and he had missed the chance to make baseball the main source of energy in his life, he more or less retired. I got there just after this had happened. There was a pall about the world that you could cut with a knife. Even the victors, the noble family, pausing briefly in the field, recognize that you can overdo victory sometimes. Defeat too harsh changes everything. Willard taught me, playing catch in the driveway, a useful idea, the meaning of immaculate conception, the virgin birth. Men are more or less superfluous. Scientists are working on Willard's idea now.
Two men in a bedroom of a palatial house.
What do you suppose this thing is for?
You set it to the time you want to get up and breakfast comes.
How do you know that?
I tried it yesterday.
What happened?
I set it for 9 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock there was a knock on the door, and a woman came
How
in
did
with
she know
breakfast.
what you want for breakfast?
Maybe she just brought what she eats.
You are smart. Do you think it'll work
Not at
now?
noon, you have to go
I
downstairs.
hope that old man doesn't make another
If
speech.
it wasn't him, it would be the old woman, and that'd be worse.
If I was them, I'd move out.
They can't move out. That's part of the bargain.
East to west.
Broad river runs east to west with high ridges on either side. This is mountain country.
East to west with high ridges on either side, so seeming
Broad
imagination.
river runs
wouldn't
east to west
fault
with
it.
high ridges on either side.
Sometime in the past to an almost perfect smoothness, hidden now by the ragged undergrowth the
The
river
slopes were
runs.
sculpted sometime in the past to an almost perfect smoothness.
East to west with high ridges on either
Slopes are
side.
covered with trees. Now the work
The
is
slopes are
hidden.
covered with trees now.
At a certain
Work
point
is
in the
hidden.
river, according to
At a
history,
certain point in the river, there's evidence of more mysterious kind of work, a
something
more
strange
complex
happens when
structure.
the people of the area speak about the river. Their attention
Also
is
hidden, the structures referred to in the story of the river when people of the
always
area
inevitably focused on the mystery of the place.
speak about the river. Their attention is
Where, according to history,
always inevitably focused
a more
on the
complex
mystery
kind of structure,
of the place in the river
also hidden as well,
where something
is part of the plan of
strange happened.
Chicken said they're gonna wear that smoothness thing. I said, chicken, that's the only thing they've got. He said, well, why don't you tell him how we got the mule down out of the tree? The tree was in the creek bed, and the creek was down, and the mule was caught in the fork of the high branches, kicking and fussing to get down. It was right there at the old dam, and Chicken said if we close the dam and the water comes up, we can float. So we closed the dam, and in about 4 hours, the water came up enough so that we could get out there in the branches of the tree and push the mule off the limb. Then the mule was swimming around, but it couldn't get up the bank. The sides were too slick. So the mule just hung onto the tree to keep from drowning. Chicken and I opened up the dam again, and when the water came down to where the mule could walk, the mule climbed. If we hadn't come along, the mule would be up there, yeah. Chicken was scared, because I think he got the mule up there in the first place. I think the mule was down in the creek bed, but Chicken shut the dam just to see the mule swim around. When the mule got stuck in the tree, Chicken opened up the dam again so he wouldn't get in trouble. He didn't think that when the water went down, the mule couldn't get down from the tree. Were so slick. If that tree hadn't been there, that mule would have drowned for sure.
People of the area
slope sculpted at some time in the past to an almost perfect
speak about the river. They speak about the slopes.
a covered with trees. Now the work is hidden, also part of.
Sculpted at some time in the past to an almost perfect smoothness.
The plan of the river, according to history, is the more complex kind of structure.
The work is hidden. The slopes are covered with
Its orientation is described in
and
absolute.
when the people speak,
Oh, in fact, with respect to perfect north and south and perfect east and west,
their attention is focused on the mystery of the place where,
as these terms are used to help us to imagine the sphere of Earth.
into history, a more complex kind of structure.
Its orientation is skewed to conform to perfect north is determined by
Also hidden is part
its
of
position in the
the
heavens.
work of the river.
The meaning of its position
Something strange happened.
is to be found in our struggles to understand
Otherwise, it is harder to understand.
the periodicity of events.
I said, how'd that mule get up
He
in
didn't
the
answer
tree?
me. He just kept saying, we gotta get him down.
I said, how'd he get up there? That's the way to get
that
him
mule
down.
must have weighed 1,000 pounds.
We couldn't hardly move him even when the water came up.
Chicken said maybe if we shut the dam and the water comes up, the mule will
I
float
said,
out.
if he don't drown first.
Chicken said, I think he can swim.
I said, I never saw a mule swim.
Chicken said, he can swim, I know it.
I said, how long will it take to get
He
the
said,
water
maybe about 4 hours.
I said, if we drown him, you better
He
not
just
think
kept
about
saying he
going
can
home.
swim. I know he can swim.
Now the slopes are covered,
The more complex structures only partly visible from the
and
ridges.
the work is hidden. The people of the area
The top is visible. The top part is a dam positioned at a
speak
place
about the river as if it were almost infinitely deep,
where its
as if
orientation conforms to perfect north as determined by
smoothly sculpted slopes had been made at some time in the past when
its position in the heavens among
something
the
strange happened too
parts
hard
of
and
the dam
invisible.
visible from the ridges are the large entrance doors where the
Plain perfectly erect, not a boundary, at least not in
separate
the
things in the
way.
lower part of the more complex structure were loaded into the
The
structure.
people of the area speak of it, a monument of a sort,
One of the mysteries of the more complex structure in the way.
to the infinite deepness of the river at a time when the slopes were
The people of
sculpted.
the area speak about the rivers, the mystery of
The work is hidden now.
whether the entrance doors will
They were sculpted in the manner of the
be
sculpting.
used again or whether the
The more
structure
complex
is
kind of
closed
structure.
for all time.
That sounds sort of crazy.
Atalanta is about the things they bring on board and what's in their imagination.
Do we see those things?
Atalanta is for television. We see everything.
If Atalanta's an opera, what about the
All that's in the
singing?
manuscript. It's different from what we call singing, but it's singing.
Why does it sound so up to date? What about the 1940s?
All of that part is left open. It will always sound up to date.
Does the flying saucer complete its
All
mission?
3 men are put down someplace in the middle of America. Then they have to be admitted. It's the story of immigrants.
What will we hear in Atalanta
A
Strategy?
little bit of everything. But the pirates didn't sign him up. Fell through from Willard, and he went into the drift, as when a curveball doesn't break. He dreamed, he read the newspaper, and did other things. He moved to the desert. He lost the wife he had taken with him. He moved back to headquarters. He saw peach pits on the windowsill turn into flying saucers. Sorry. He saw a flying saucer where others saw a peach pit. He pioneered TV before I knew the meaning of it, when as a boy I was still in the confidence of women, and they would let me hear them talk to each other. One of the funny stories was that Willard had fallen in love with a ballerina in a red dress that only he could see. The set didn't even have to be on. And my mother's sister came home from the factory one afternoon and said to Willard, Willard, if you don't turn that TV on when you watch it, I'm going to throw it out. Check that against your curveball. And he died. So long, Willard.
Just like
A
that.
threat,
And they all laugh.
and they all laughed like flies at honey.
Lieutenant,
Sorry, sir.
Art the bartender is never
I don't think his
drunk.
name is Art, sir.
It isn't my book.
They keep changing it, I guess.
So how is it spelled?
Just like it sounds.
At least we don't have to worry about that.
One said it must be great
Then
to
what
be
happened?
there. Same thing, long pause, and they all.
Stand around like flies?
You got it.
Then what?
Same one said, you wake up, and first thing you think
I
is,
big A.
you got it. We may make it, and
That's
we may
what
not.
one of them said.
No, that's what I said.
I know you said it, but where did you get it?
I didn't notice that it
This is
wasn't mine.
definitely an emergency.
You won't regret it, Captain.
May I remind you again about the orders?
Has regret been
Not
reclassified?
reclassified, Lieutenant.
Do you mean it's always
I'm
been
sorry
reserved?
to say so.
It must be the pressure
Close
on
the
me,
doors
sir.
when you go out, Lieutenant.
It's just as saying, sir, there are no
Simply like
doors.
the sound, don't you?
The cadence seems more and more important.
Right, the cadence. What
We
is
take
it
them
now?
to the coordinates,
Place of exchange in Illinois.
and they appear as
What's
in a dream.
Illinois again?
Some Indian place, it's
They
not
appear
important. As in a dream briefly.
And then they're gone.
No, that's the point. They're not gone.
That's the mission.
We take them, but they're not gone.
We take them, but they're not gone.
Repetition helps
They have
sometimes.
divided, so to speak.
Only in the sense of multiplicity.
There's no first one.
No first one as it appears.
What's there is just a replica.
Only in the sense of multiplicity.
Then what have we got?
I think that's a problem,
I
sir.
don't believe it. The mission says originals.
There was trouble from the start.
The mission says originals.
They duplicate themselves,
Divide and conquer. I saw it.
Seems to be their motto,
Let's go
sir.
over this again.
We are to put them in
Yes,
another
they
place,
ought to be seen,
but not
while at
identified,
the same time
remaining where
as they were and unchanged.
To all appearances,
And in
we
broad
hope,
daylight too.
in broad daylight to be
3
seen,
witnesses, the mission says.
then back to where
Mission
we got
manual
them,
says
as if they were never
and
gone.
the excuse is they're dreaming.
They are all unusual in this respect, sir,
Picked because they're famous
and
for
personally without
it. No
excuse.
wonder we're having problems.
They don't seem to need it.
They don't talk themselves away.
Hardly ever. They
This is
just
covered
laugh.
in the manual.
Not the ones we've got, sir.
Willard, if you don't turn that TV on when you watch it,
I'm gonna throw it out.
no.
No, listening as the act of hearing is more ridiculous than looking as the act of seeing. Thus, looking in its inadequacy is less understood than listening in its inadequacy. For instance, imagine some triumphant pioneer of land use, a farmer dedicated to agriculture and all that agriculture represents for us, on the very frontier of the conversion of the surface, looking westward from the easternmost vantage point of his land. In this image, the setting sun is almost indispensable, ironic. To say, quote, everything in sight is mine. You laugh from your vantage point where the surface is disturbed with ruins, recognizing that he means not the setting sun itself or the invisible stars or the clouds of water, oceans in the sky or the sky itself. But simply the surface as a concept materialized. God, how ironical this is. By the notion of the boundary. Remember, too, that they are in love. They have brought to their love the differences between them. She never thinking about her part in his life, for instance. I am not to blame that. Listen. Grandmother, for whom the surface, too, is beyond infinitely smooth, has no longer either seeing or hearing, and in her wisdom resists Tennessean in his nature. Or the apparent progress from seeing and hearing in her own nature. More, as we have said, progress from hearing as a guide even than seeing. Though that argument has not been laid to rest, her excellence. He never thinks on his part, for instance, I am not to blame, that then too listen. The great icon with the writings on it and what the writings mean, embedded in the language of the place, of the difficulties, of the service. Or his sureness in the awareness of the surface and its difficulties, which sureness is brought forward always, eventually, at least in history, as we know it, even among those for whom the surface is apparently infinitely smooth. This is a classic case. Their love has in it the quality of defiance, which should be of interest to others. He has, in his way, defied turning the language of the place, of the difficulties, of the service, inward, defied turning as though toward the source of the seekers, which, remember, would not be seekers, except as they were shared in some degree by others, the numbers and relationships among which are expressed in the architecture of the resemblance to the icon. He has, in his way, left home with both the language and the secrets. Not that these are in danger. No one would believe it anyway. But there is attrition, as we have noticed. And she has, in her way, defied the apparent progress of seeing and hearing in herself. Could be said that she is turned as though toward the source.
You know
Wait a minute. A person finds a manuscript. Author unknown. An opera that was neither seen or heard. About a flying saucer that came to Earth to check out the marriage of a woman that we don't even know existed. The flying saucer misses the target. 8,000 years. Arrives USA, late 1940s. Picks up 3 men. For some flying saucer reason. Trouble on the saucer. Because they weren't prepared for anything like this. And we are in the saucer. Okay, I've got it. A proto-populist, pre-post-modernist interpretation of the myth.